Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. Shi and Xiahao gave each other a look, on guard against each other. However, in the end, they didn't fight. Even though they stood against each other, after using their identities of belonging to the same clan to kill 6 Crown King Ning Chuan, if they immediately quarreled with each other, it was still a bit over the top. Go, let's open up the vicious nest. Xiahao said, fine. Shi nodded. Qin Hao also followed along. They kept a bit of distance between each other, but they could still be considered to be walking together. This made everyone suck in a cold breath of air. Stone Clan's brothers really were going to join hands, entering the vicious nest together. How were others supposed to even live? What they were most worried about happened. These three were walking together, so who could face them? Even the ancient freak Ning Chuan was killed. Ha, truly too great, an unmatched combination. In the distance, Lu Yi laughed loudly, jolting his butt cheeks as he ran over. Luo Dao and Lan Chen looked at each other in dismay. Just now, they were incomparably shaken up. The scene of Ning Chuan's death left them greatly shocked. Such a dazzling ancient figure was actually killed. There might be a great harvest this time in the vicious nest. Lan Chen said. Luo Dao nodded. They also moved, heading forward. Hateful, those three people are walking together. There's no way to stop them. People in the outside world were also speaking softly, feeling extremely uneasy. Are the heavens going to be changed? If other experts appear nearby the vicious nest, they will undoubtedly be in danger, unless ancient freaks also team up. If they continue to fight everyone alone, then these three brothers might very well kill them. There wasn't a single individual who wasn't shocked. They were all paying close attention to this. If nothing unexpected happened, other freaks would definitely appear. If a battle broke out here, it would most likely be dangerous for them. In Immortal Ancient, if they joined hands, then they could break through the sky. At this moment, Xiahao and Shi took action at the same time, activating the fist-sized clump of blood, scattering it forward. Only world-shocking divine blood could cause a change in this place, open up a mysterious path to make it relatively safer. Otherwise, directly entering through the volcano's passages so recklessly would easily result in accidents. It had to be said that 6 Crown King was extraordinary, his blood different. There were dragon patterns on his forehead as soon as he was born, and a heavenly diagram on his back. His blood was blessed by the heavens, carrying a mysterious energy. This fist-sized lump of blood essence released dazzling radiance, forming a blood-colored symbol in that mountain region, unexpectedly making one of the 33 blood moons above them move. A streak of light descended, unexpectedly opening up a path. In the mountain, an ancient path mysteriously opened, extending outwards and appearing beneath Xiahao, Shi, and Qin Hao's feet. Go. Shi walked forward, entering inside. Xiahao frowned, but in the end, he still entered. Luo Dao, Lan Chen, and the others naturally didn't hesitate, wishing to enter and take a look. There was even less of a need to talk about Qin Hao. As a member of Stone Clan, the 2 stones already entered, so he was naturally entering as well. Bring us with you. We are willing to pledge our lives to follow behind you, obey your orders. In the rear, many people shouted, among them no lack of powerful outstanding experts. They were willing to follow behind them. Let's separate here. I'm choosing this path. Shi said calmly. After giving Xiahao and Qin Hao a nod, he exerted force, opened up a path, and then walked in. An expanse of mist rushed out from that gate that shone brilliantly. Big brother, I'm taking the second path. Qin Hao said. He was going to enter alone. Xiahao shook his head and said, you should still go together with me. This underground world is quite strange, so it'll be dangerous for a single person. After saying this, he produced a stone diagram. There were a few paths recorded on it, no need. If there is an accident, I have a way of leaving. I also found a diagram outside. Qin Hao said. He brought it out and showed it to Xiahao, having them observe it to see if it is the same. It was just as old and ancient. The stone inscription diagram had a mysterious route within it, but it wasn't quite the same as Xiao's. It seems like one map will lead to one place, containing different natural luck. Older brother, let's travel separately. Qin Hao was quite stubborn, wishing to proceed alone. Xiahao didn't stop him again. He pointed outwards, leaving an imprint on his body and saying, be careful. Then, he, together with Luo Dao, Lana Chen, and Lu Yi entered the third gate. In the rear, when the crowd saw this, they all rushed over, separately entering through 3 different gates. There were other cultivators who entered the volcano through other entrances, not following Shahao or the other 2. In reality, many people had hurried over during these past few days, entering the nest. Many of them died, and only a few people came out with natural luck alive. Everyone threw themselves over like moths to a flame, wishing to seize natural luck and obtain opportunities. As soon as Shahao's group entered, they immediately sensed a rich heaven and earth spiritual essence. 5-colored multicolored light swirled about, as if they were standing within a divine earth. However, as soon as they relaxed, a colored ribbon moved through the void. It was completely silent, unexpectedly making Shahao's fine hairs stand on end. He hurriedly dragged those people over. However, that black flame was too terrifying. It was incomparably hot. Even as deities, they all still felt as if it was a bit hard to handle. Half divine medicine, it has special fragrance. In the rear, there were creatures who hurried over. All of their eyes were shining, revealing looks of shock. They really wanted to immediately rush over, an illusion, not a half-divine medicine. If you all still want to have a go, knock yourselves out. Shahao said. With a raise of his hand, black flames surged outwards, making all of these divine flame realm cultivators breathing difficult. Their bodies were burned until they felt intense pain, their flesh about to collapse. Against this type of flame, unless one was the outstanding talent of a province, it was difficult to pass. Shahao walked over, walking through the flames and finding a path. He was going to make his way through. Luo Dao and Lana Chen followed. Even though it was uncomfortable for them, they could still make it through. Lu Yi was the only one that cried out miserably, almost being in danger. He was grabbed by Shahao and protected under his own radiance. It was clear that this black flame would block a lot of people. Unless one was a powerful individual, they wouldn't be able to pass it. In the rear, the crowd sighed. They wanted to follow a powerful individual and borrow his power to make things a bit easier, but they couldn't even do so in the end. There were some who were quite decisive, however, saying, "It's too dangerous. It seems like it really isn't a place we should have came to." After saying this, these people turned around and left. Of course, when they turned around, they became stupefied. There was already no path behind them. It all turned into a dark red stone wall, blocking their escape. Shahao frowned as he proceeded, leading these individuals through this region. They were actually moving through a woodland. It was quite strange, there was actually a forest underground. In the magma, there were a few plants that weren't over 3 foot in height. They were silvery white, shining, and releasing a gentle fragrance. These were rather strange-looking thistles and thorns, with a few of them having fruits on their branches, holy fruits. Those were holy fruits. Their names weren't known, but they possessed abundant spiritual essence, worthy of being immortal ancient, the spiritual essence so dense that several tens of holy medicines appeared at once. This is truly astonishing. Shahao sighed in amazement. Compared to this place, his homeland in the lower realm was just too barren. The spiritual essence was incomparably lacking, the precious medicines they're unable to evolve. However, when they picked these, they encountered quite a bit of trouble. The sea of magma surged, and dense symbols surged to suppress and kill them. In the end, they picked 6 or 7 fruits. With a wing sound, a bone flood dragon emerged from the magma. It unexpectedly opened its mouth towards these fruits. So strange, it doesn't have a consciousness and only a type of instinct. Shahao was stunned. There were bits of light within the bone flood dragon's skull. That wasn't a primordial spirit, only a remnant will. When one holy fruit entered its mouth, it unexpectedly allowed these people to step on its body. Then, all of the bone texts on its body flourished, carrying them through the void with a su sound towards the other side of the Scarlet Sea. Heavens, this flood dragon should have been at least a heavenly deity before its death, but it was refined into a tool to travel through this sea. Those individuals cried out in astonishment. Its will hadn't faded after all this time. It was purposely transformed into its current state. The sea of magma was quite hot. There were strange ancient flames hidden within that could kill deities. Lu Yi gave it a test. As a result, his arm was injured, almost melting off. The bone flood dragon was fast, quickly carrying them to the other side of the Scarlet Sea, arriving before an expanse of rubble. Is it testing us? Why is it one dangerous place after another? Luo Dao's face became serious, because he had seen a few sword traces in the forest that unexpectedly released powerful killing intent. This was indeed the case. They were stopped again. Only after breaking through them could they pass. Divine Wing Clan Peng Tianyi. 6 characters, written quite hurriedly, seemingly running out of strength towards the end. This was clearly left behind before death. What? Luo Dao and Lan Chen's fine hairs stood on end, feeling incomparably shocked. What is it? Is this person famous? Shahao asked. This is an ancient freak, someone who had overlooked an era, only, after he entered Immortal Ancient a second time, he never appeared again. Luo Dao's expression was serious and grave. A powerful ancient freak died here endless years ago. Shahao couldn't help but become serious. He looked at the few other corpses, all of them appearing quite powerful, their bones shining and extraordinary. The primordial true bones have been dug out by someone. After Lan Chen carefully inspected this place, he said rather regretfully. Divine Wing Clan's Peng Tianyi, a creature who had been recorded in bone books, powerful to a ridiculous level, someone who had overlooked the world. This was an existence that was known to be number 1 through 3,000 provinces. Unfortunately, after his second appearance, he died here. It was a bit obscure. Were their true bones seized by those who came later? Lu Yi sighed inwardly, feeling that it was a pity. Shahao carefully searched around. His flesh had long disappeared, but his bones didn't break. Apart from the true bone that carried its life symbols, all other parts were preserved quite well. He then looked at the other 4 skeletons. Their bones were quite special, sparkling with luster. There were golden bones, scarlet bones, and even after tens of thousands of years, they still didn't corrode. They belonged to different clans. These bones were preserved well, the bones not damaged at all. They are all quite powerful, all of them the most powerful young outstanding talents of a clan. Shahao said. In reality, if they weren't powerful enough, there was no way they would have been able to walk here. All of them would have died already. Suddenly, when they reached out with their divine will to investigate, the praying mat shone. Chaotic energy became dense, startling them, an ancient scripture. Luo Dao was shocked, feeling that this was a bit inconceivable. Within that praying mat was a great Dao true meaning. When they reached out with their divine will, it released a rumbling sound and then spread outwards, shaking up everyone's souls. Careful. Shahao said. Luo Dao and Lan Chen naturally understood what he meant. They were controlling themselves as well. After all, even an ancient freak died here, so how could there not be anything sinister here? They backed up and carefully looked around, observing this region. In the end, they came to the conclusion that this path should have been extremely dangerous. The only reason they smoothly arrived here was because Peng Tianyi and those other people already broke through all the restrictions. That is to say, we are basking in their glory. Endless years ago, they cleared out the other dangers along the way. It seems like the only danger remaining is this praying mat. Suddenly, Shahao sensed something. All of the fine hairs on his body stood up, immediately severing all connection with that praying mat. He resisted his urge to continue comprehending it and backed up. So? The others asked. It's extremely dangerous. Shahao's expression was grave. However, how could they give up on this ancient scripture, just like that? Let me use a spiritual body to see what kind of problems there really are. You all observe from the rear. After finding out the truth, we'll find a way to break through it. Lu Yi said. He felt like if he didn't help at all after traveling with them all this time, only following behind to receive the benefits, it would leave him too uneasy, feeling extremely apologetic. As such, he produced this suggestion to act as the bait. This would undoubtedly be extremely dangerous, with a single mistake resulting in dying here. However, Lu Yi insisted on doing this. It'll just be a spiritual body dying at most. It shouldn't implicate the main body as well. Lu Yi said, strengthening his own courage. The others backed up. Lu Yi produced a spiritual body, and added a bit of essence blood to make it more powerful and realistic. Of course, divine senses were indispensable too. They carefully watched from the distance, paying close attention. The spiritual body walked forward one step after another. When it was 3 zhong before that praying mat, it was stopped. Bone texts flickered, shining with incomparable brilliance, cannot walk forward any further. It's as if there's a mountain blocking the way. The spiritual body said. Then, it sat down, sending out some divine will to probe the praying mat's mysteries. Soon after, he became foolish, submerged within. Read out the scriptures. Lu Yi's main body spoke, wishing for Shahao and the others to hear as well. The spiritual body cried out loudly. It used its precious techniques, and did everything it could to resist. However, everything was ineffective, unable to defend itself at all. That streak of light directly entered the space between its brows, piercing through. The expression of Lu Yi's spiritual body changed greatly. A streak of light shot out from the crown of his head. That was his divine sense that was trying to escape and leave the skull. The blade radiance that flew out from the praying mat changed directions, not entering his brows and following it into the skies, pursuing the divine sense. The two tangled together, fighting intensely. Lu Yi's true body spat out a mouthful of blood, his face becoming incomparably pale. It was because the divine sense in the air was hacked through. The spiritual body turned into a rain of light, dying as well. At the same time, the blade of radiance also scattered, thus disappearing. It cuts down one's primordial spirit, leaving the body unharmed. That streak of light is quite mysterious, unexpectedly disregarding the attacks of weapons. It seems like only primordial spirit power can resist it. Luo Dao said after some thought, is this the embodiment of power? Even primordial spirit force is included, including everything. Shahao was shaken. This ancestral precious technique was formidable. It was simple and direct, purely an evolution of power. The more it was like this, the more it made one desire it. The great Tao became the most simple. If this was truly the secret method of one of the vicious 10, it would definitely shock past and present. Everyone would want to obtain it. Rumors had it that the vicious 10 were originally immortal ancient eras creatures, only dying after reaching this great era. There was reason behind this after all. Otherwise, how could this vicious nest be here? I feel like just now, that streak of light wasn't all that powerful either. It could kill Lu Yi, but against us, it should be ineffective. Lan Chen said. Lu Yi's face was pale. He had lost a spiritual body, which could be considered a serious injury. He accepted a half ginseng fruit Shahao handed over, and after ingesting it, he sat down and began to meditate. Let me give it a try. Lan Chen also produced a spiritual body, hoping to receive some type of benefit. Those individuals were all shocked. Even someone as powerful as Lan Chen's spiritual body also could only walk within 3 zhong, and then it couldn't travel any further. It was no different from Lu Yi. Then, his spiritual body also sat down to comprehend that secret method. At first, he also read a few sentences, but then, his divine senses were also isolated. Shahao also gave it a try, but it was completely useless. This is bad. We are trapped. These individuals frowned. The divine striking stone was woken up. Shahao had it try to break this formation, but in the end, it was also helpless. Everything was because of that praying mat. As that was the center of the formation, can one only comprehend through it? Shahao frowned and then said, could it be that it requires the comprehender to possess strength beyond the limit of their realm? Then, Shahao walked forward, his true body sitting 3 zhong outside the praying mat. Too risky. You should have just sent out a spiritual body to test it out. Luo Dao's expression changed, advising like this, need to advance courageously and do everything I can to resist that primordial spirit attack. Shahao said. He wasn't being rash, because he had passed the most powerful lightning tribulation, and even had the lightning radiance baptize his primordial spirit. Apart from this, he also ate the golden body fruit, so his primordial spirit was far more powerful than that of others in his cultivation realm. Shahao comprehended the method. Soon after, danger came as expected. A streak of light that was even more resplendent than the one before appeared, hacking towards his primordial spirit. A battle erupted. Shahao's primordial spirit turned into a resplendent little figure, directly attacking over to fight that streak of light. How powerful. The primordial spirit has taken form, vivid and lifelike, far more powerful than ours. Lan Chen said with a sigh. At this moment, Shahao displayed the reincarnation technique, and Lightning Emperor's method with his primordial spirit, causing this place to erupt with intense radiance. It was shocking to the extreme. Block it, you have to succeed. Shahao's party walked forward. After closely inspecting this cave, they discovered that it truly was massive. There were actually 100 stone gates, each leading to this place from a different direction. The path they traveled through was merely one of them, and the stone gate at the end of this path, as well as 9 others, had the word death carved on them, indicating their difficulty. They walked out. The pressure increased greatly, making even walking difficult. They almost couldn't lift their feet. Up ahead, Dao platforms appeared one after another like seats, arranged in a row within the cave. Every single platform had creatures seated on it. This wasn't the key thing. What drew Shahao's attention was that there was a hazy ancient cave in the very depths. Primal chaos and immortal light swelled simultaneously, a dense mist surrounding that place. He could vaguely see a jade table within the ancient cave. On it was a piece of divine bone book that released immortal light. It was incomparably mysterious. So many people, all of them experts, Luo Dao said softly. Even someone as powerful as him felt a great pressure, because there were no weak individuals in this group. They were all extremely powerful individuals. He recognized a few of them, the most powerful geniuses of their provinces, powerful to a ridiculous extent. There were also some who, even though he never saw them before, from their outwards appearances, he could still deduce what clan's outstanding talents they were from. There are actually more than 100 people here. Lana Chen sucked in a cold breath of air. To be more precise, there were close to 200 that had reached this final destination. One had to keep in mind that they experienced many dangers along the way, passing over 50 trials to get here, in the end even experiencing the praying mat disaster. If not for them having someone as powerful as Shahao on their side, there was no way they would have arrived here alive. However, in this cave, there were close to 200 experts. Our path was extremely difficult, one of the 10 routes of death. Lu Yi said softly, but on the contrary, felt rather optimistic. A few more have arrived to take a share of our natural luck. Dao brothers, do you all wish for this type of scene to continue? Suddenly, someone spoke coldly. Indeed, more and more creatures are coming, but this cave only has so many supreme treasures to divide amongst ourselves. I also feel like we should put a stop to it. Someone replied. Shahao withdrew his gaze and looked up. These were an expanse of Dao platforms, all of them quite tall. Every single one of them had a creature sitting on it, some sinister, some handsome, some beautiful. There were men and women from all different races. The common characteristic was that they were all shockingly powerful experts. In the cave, the atmosphere was extremely tense with killing intent pervading the air. Quite a few creatures on that Dao platform carried hostility. Shahao's expression remained the same, only, his words were domineering without backing down in the slightest. Those who wish to take action can come at me. I will welcome all who dare try. He, one of them laughed, appearing extremely unbridled, voice fleeting, making it difficult to discern which direction it came from. Do you truly think of yourself so highly, treating this like your own province? Towards this idiot who doesn't understand life or death, what is everyone still waiting for? Send him on his way. Someone incited disharmony, the voice carrying cold intent. Shahao's pupils contracted, forming a vague symbol. He swept through the crowd and coldly said, "No need, you can take action right now." After speaking, he took a large step forward, immediately making the entire cave tremble. It was because each time he took a step, he needed to exert great strength. There was a tremendous power restricting this place. However, right now, Shahao's steps were firm and resolute, calm and unhurried, each step making this place tremble greatly, as if a prehistoric beast was walking. He stared at a black-robed male and quickly approached. He raised his hand and smashed it over. That male's expression changed. He never expected this person to locate his true position, the secret method of confusion useless, and his true self exposed. He hurriedly rose up from the platform, bringing out precious artifacts, and displaying divine abilities to fight intensely. Something shocking happened. Shahao relied only on his flesh to fend off those precious techniques, and his fist to blast apart the precious techniques. With a dong sound, he leapt onto the platform. The two collided, and blood splashed outwards. That black-robed male cried out miserably, doing everything he could to defend himself, but after just a dozen or so moves, he was killed. This scene left everyone shocked. Those who could reach this cave, how many of them were weak? They were all people who cultivated to the peak, yet one of them was killed so quickly by the newcomer. This already confirmed everything. This new person was extremely strong. However, there were others who curled their lips, not minding too much, still having confidence in themselves. This group of country bumpkins definitely came here earlier, not knowing about the Battle of Fallen Immortal Ridge. Lu Yi muttered. Luo Dao hurriedly stopped him, telling him not to speak randomly. It was because this place was definitely not simple, likely having ancient freaks. Exposing themselves too early might result in being targeted. Shahao didn't say anything and jumped off the platform. He felt several waves of auras that left him shivering inwardly. His mind trembled, informing Luo Dao and the others to be careful. Soon after, Luo Dao and Lanachen felt a tremendous pressure as well, finding it difficult to move. Meanwhile, they only walked up to that Dao platform. In the end, after persisting for a while longer and leaping over several dozen people, they couldn't move anymore. Jump onto the platform. The pressure here is weaker, Shahao said. Sure enough, after these two each selected an unmanned platform and made it up with difficulty, the pressure immediately lessened. They could move freely again. Yi, Dao friend, what are you doing? Why are you letting out your own blood? Lanachen was shocked. He saw a middle-aged male that cut open his wrist on an adjacent platform, dripping blood on the Dao platform. He was a bit confused. Comprehend the Dao. By nourishing the Dao platform with blood, one can listen to the true scripture from the bone book inside the immortal cave. This cultivator saw how powerful Shahao was and wasn't willing to offend his people, thus telling them this. Luo Dao and Lanachen were shocked. The sutras could be obtained this way. They were a bit confused. Why didn't they just directly visit the ancient cave to seize it? Could it be that that place was extremely dangerous? We cannot enter that ancient cave. Many people have died already. That cultivator said. Shahao silently thought to himself, carefully analyzing the situation. He discovered that only a few people of the first row's 20 dropped blood to comprehend the scriptures. The others closed their eyes in meditation, not doing that. He nodded, deciding not to let out blood either, instead wait for an opportunity to slaughter his way into the ancient cave. Little brother's path is different from mine, and his destination was different as well. I wonder where he is now, Shahao said softly. However, he knew that Qin Hao was most likely fine, because he could still sense the imprint he left on Qin Hao's body. Everyone, we have already waited for many days. The number of experts that have gathered is numerous enough. We can give it a try now, see if we can enter the ancient cave. At this time someone spoke. It came from someone seated in the first row. Meanwhile, when he opened his eyes only moved past the bodies of the people in the first row, speaking to them, completely disregarding everyone else. Yi. Suddenly, there was a disturbance in the rear. Someone else came, triggering cries of surprise. There is actually someone else who emerged from the path of death. How formidable. It is actually a female. Someone cried out in alarm, making it through a route of death, truly powerful. Everyone sighed with amazement. They had just experienced Shahao's matter, so this time, no one acted rashly, nor did anyone suggest killing her. On the contrary, a few creatures revealed peculiar looks. It was because they felt that this woman was too extraordinary, exceptionally beautiful, to the extent of making the hearts of others sway. Shahao sighed inwardly. Each person was truly different from the next. An exceptional beauty actually attracted passionate eyes, and not a bit of hostility. This woman's long dress fluttered about, landing on the ground as gracefully as an immortal. She closed in on the first row step after step, seemingly not strenuous to do so at all. Her figure was excellent, curves rising and falling, incomparably impressive. She had crystal blue long hair that was so resplendent it reflected radiance. There was a veil over her face that prevented divine abilities from seeing through it, hiding her true appearance. Those eyes were extremely large and beautiful. They carried a strange luster, as if the most resplendent stars were flickering. It made one feel as if they were being sucked into them. Apart from this, Shahao sensed that in her blue-colored long hair, there were a pair of horns as well, hidden within, vaguely visible, dragon horns. Someone cried out. Others also saw them. Gasps immediately sounded. Could she be the legendary dragon girl? Some people were shaken up. At this moment, more than 20 of the most powerful individuals took action. That screen of light distorted, becoming indistinct. In the end, it scattered, and they rushed inside. Contrary to their expectations, they didn't pay the price of blood, successfully entering. However, this still made them relieved. After all, these were the most powerful 22 individuals, ancient freaks included among them. What was shocking was that everyone became smaller, turning into specks of dust. The jade table seemed even taller than a mountain, and on its surface was the sacred bone book. It was clear that this place had spatial natural laws. It wasn't that everyone became small, but rather the jade table was as large as a mountain to begin with. They just couldn't see it all from the outside. There are so many good things. Someone cried out with alarm. Within the immortal cave, there were artifacts of normal size, including bone books, magical artifacts, and precious medicines, divine medicines. How fragrant. Someone rushed over to pick them. That place was swirling with radiance, with divine medicines taking root. They flowed with tens of thousands of strands of multicolored light, divine ancient treasure, yin-yang pouch. Another person took action to seize a divine magical artifact. Shahao was shocked, recognizing that the pouch was unordinary. It was actually pieced together by several dozen pieces of archaic divine beast skins and refined. This might even be able to store a sect master level figure, right? A chaotic battle erupted here that was incomparably fierce. There were naturally people who rushed towards the jade table, wishing to seize the bone book that contained the immortal light. In mid-air, human figures flew out in reverse. The battle was extremely intense. Shahao clashed with the others, his eyes also becoming red. With a wing sound, natural laws descended, freezing this place. It left everyone shocked. There are restrictions protecting this ancient cave, fearing that we will destroy it. Everyone's powers were restricted. Those that were in mid-air fell onto the ground. It became even more chaotic. Shahao felt that there was someone behind him. He directly brandished a hand, releasing a sharp and clear sound. You still dare speak more? Dragon Girl's dark eyebrows stood up vertically. Her beautiful eyes that were flickering like stars even more so shot out blinding rays of light that flew over like stellar streams. Her body curved wonderfully, her beautiful figure releasing holy light, erupting with shocking divine force fluctuations. She had forced back the few powerful experts at her side and was now walking over towards Shahao. That type of power left Shahao shocked. He sighed inwardly in admiration. Worthy of being Dragon Girl, worthy of being an ancient freak. She was ridiculously powerful. At the same time, he realized that the other party most likely grasped mind connection. Otherwise, how could she know what he was thinking? This was truly a shocking ability. Ancient freaks truly are all astonishing, some opening heavenly eyes, some comprehending mind connection, one more freakish than the last. Shahao sighed inwardly. The space between his brows shone, hurriedly protecting his divine senses, isolating all fluctuations and ripples. He did not wish for others to know what he was thinking. The two of them exchanged a palm through space. Symbols erupted in a dazzling and beautiful manner. My hand made a mistake, I meant, a misunderstanding. Shahao cried out loudly, explaining that what happened just now was done accidentally. Those on the side became speechless as well. He still dared to say hand mistake. This person truly didn't have a way with words. Like an arrow that left a bowstring, Shahao rushed out, avoiding Dragon Girl. He didn't want to fight her for no good reasons. There were too many enemies in this cave. If he fought against an ancient freak, it would definitely not be good for him. Right now, seizing natural luck was the most important. At this moment, the pressure in the Immortal Palace increased. It was difficult for the people here to rush upwards. They would be blasted back down. The jade table was just too high up. When one fell back to the ground and looked up, the legs of the table simply looked like heavenly pillars, thick and tall as they towered before them. Right now, in this cave, there were at least several kings that were the most powerful of several generations, rising above all others within a great battle of 3,000 provinces, becoming unmatched in immortal ancient. Several of these types of figures appeared at once, and they all released their spiritual bodies, immediately making this place chaotic. Shahao's eyes became resplendent. He didn't split apart a spiritual body and moved with his true body. He rushed over to seize that divine ancient medicine. The great battle was intense. Precious artifacts flew out in reverse, no lack of heavenly deity magical artifacts among them, leaving Shahao's mind shaken. These types of weapons, normally speaking, would be hard to bring inside unless they were damaged or had serious flaws. They should be magical artifacts that were nurtured in a secret realm, or something quickly repaired. Shahao's mind jumped. This place was terrifying after all. He produced the pill furnace he obtained from Fiend Island's lightning river to protect himself. This magical artifact was quite special, never displaying offensive might, but its defensive ability was immeasurable. There were bone needles that flew over, shooting towards the pill furnace's lid. Shahao's fine hairs stood on end. This was a blood-altering divine needle, something that would turn even a true deity into a clump of blood upon being struck. It was extremely difficult to refine, rumored to be something refined from heavenly deity bones. Shahao took action again, rushing towards another side to fight over other ancient treasures. Since that mountainous jade table temporarily couldn't be climbed, then he might as well fight over a few powerful weapons first to strengthen himself. It would be greatly beneficial for him in the following struggle. Heaven-marked conch. Shahao's eyes erupted with divine radiance. No wonder there were so many people gathered here, and fighting so intensely. It turned out to be a rare wondrous treasure. That was a conch, the size of a fist. It looked simple and unadorned, without luster, but the symbols on it were extremely profound and difficult to understand. Rumors had it that this was a mark of heaven. This type of conch was extremely rare, only a few dozen of them discovered from past to present. It was extremely powerful. If one refined a secret treasure out of them, with just a blow, even heavenly deities would collapse. Once matured, the powerful heaven-marked conch could even kill sect masters and others. This type of thing had to be obtained. This was what everyone was thinking. Once one grasped it and blew it here, the other experts might all fall here. Shahao naturally tried to obtain it as well, quickly taking action, displaying a great divine ability. A powerful expert was blasted apart, blood flying everywhere. One has to understand that there were hundreds of thousands of creatures that died in the vicious nest already. Those that could reach this place were all the most powerful individuals, yet in the end, that person was still killed. This made the others here vigilant. Shahao could clearly sense that other ancient freaks were now taking note of him. What is going on? This time, there was a blonde individual that rushed up first. It was because he had been fighting this entire time, now seizing a favorable location. His own body was also powerful to an immeasurable level. However, he still failed to obtain anything. That heaven-marked conch entered the stone wall before disappearing. When Shahao saw this, he backed off, his expression serious. He didn't take action again. He looked around them, seeing that the other ancient treasures were also like this, difficult to obtain. At this moment, Shahao also felt his head becoming numb. Without a second thought, he rushed out from the immortal cave at full speed, jumping outwards. Hurry and leave. Shahao shouted while rushing forward, warning Luo Dao, Lana Chen, and Lu Yi to hurry and rush outwards. It was because his mind had never pounded so greatly in the past, feeling as if a great disaster was on the verge of descending. He felt as if there was a great life-threatening danger about to arrive, making his fine hairs stand on end. He wasn't the only one. Dragon Girl also released a cry, reacting at the same time as him, rushing outwards, her beautiful eyes filled with anxiousness and shock. The two of them pressed forward side by side, running out together out from the Dao platform region. No. On the jade table, that white-haired youth roared loudly. He fiercely swung out his arm, but it was useless. All of the blood in his body quickly flowed towards the bone piece that was swirling with immortal light. At the same time, within that ancient cave, chaotic energy surged, releasing streak after streak of sword energy that swept out towards the crowd. In that instant, many people became bloody pastes, collapsing on the spot. That was a world-shocking sword energy. Forget about them, even if heavenly deities came, they would similarly be killed, difficult to survive past it. Shahao suffered a blow to the back as well. If not for him using the pill furnace to block it, he definitely would have been blasted through. That murderous light was too powerful. Cough. Shahao coughed out a large mouthful of blood. This power was just too great. Even with the pill furnace as protection, his body was still shaken up until his bones wished to break, his entire body slamming outwards. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.